Rod. Talking Dolphins. So,
Talking Dolphins.
you, Rod, have a new GM.
Mm-hmm.
You, Rod, also have a new head coach by the name of Jeff Hafley. So we were obviously this did all these news of it's been talked about, but we haven't done an episode in a week, so this is our time to give our perspective and just catch up with all of the news in regards to the coaching hires and whatnot. So we'll start with the Dolphins and then we'll talk about the rest of the coaching hires across the NFL as a whole, man. So Rod, how do you feel about your new head coach? What do you got for me? Talk to me, dog.
All right. So even though some time has passed, I'll walk you through my process. Right. So when I first heard the news about Jeff, actually, I'm gonna dial it back a bit, Herbie. I'm gonna go back to the GM real quick. Um, when I first heard about the news when it came to the GMs, I'm not gonna BS in there, y'all. Obviously, I didn't know anything about these guys when the Dolphins were looking for them. But when I saw the hire we made, I looked into Jon-Eric Sullivan, aka Sully, and I saw that GM, and I was impressed with his background, Herbie. What really drew me to him, and what made me pleased with the hire for the GM was the fact that he came from a background where he understands like the importance of drafting. Right. The problem that I had with previous regimes, Herbie, was that the Dolphins were free agency's biggest superstars. Right. We always had the big superstar splash of free agency. You could always count on the Dolphins to get that glorified free agent and put down a big bag, big money for a move that wasn't really a championship, addition. It was just more like a big band-aid for an even bigger scar. So, now we get a guy who, when you look at his track record, he came in through scouting. He is known, that's one of his specialties is identifying talent. It's reported he was the one who scouted Jordan Love. So there were a lot of positive things coming from Jon-Eric Sullivan when you consider the culture that he comes from, when you consider the philosophy that he has for building a team. When I was listening to one of his interviews, Herbie, he said something that I have always agreed with and that always killed me when it came to previous Dolphins front office, Herbie. Jon-Eric Sullivan said that, man, listen, man, draft a quarterback every year, right? Like, you can never have too many quarterbacks, especially when you don't have the guy. Like, he was saying, and like, he's been saying things, he's been saying the right things. When you listen to the press conferences, the interviews, and considering the culture he comes from, I have faith that it obviously is going to take a little time, but I have faith that Dolphins could actually properly rebuild this roster from a talent perspective. Now, when you look at Jeff Hafley, Herbie, I'll keep it a buck. I was disappointed at first, not because of who he was, but because I was tired of doing the same thing over again, Herbie. I know that hiring a coordinator turned first time head coach is not always a bad thing. You look at Mike McDonald, who's in the Super Bowl. There are plenty of other examples. Look at Ben Johnson, who was spectacular this year. So sometimes,
Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson,
yeah,
Matt LaFleur when he was so like that.
Sean
It's
McVay.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sean McVay, they hired him at 30. Now, granted, Sean McVay is a once in a lifetime generational talent to be a head coach. Like he was a head coach at 30 years old. He makes me feel like the biggest fucking loser in the world, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. What am I doing with my life? Jesus Christ. But no, go ahead, carry on, sir. I just wanted to go ahead and add a little anecdote.
No, no, for sure, Herbie. And so when I looked at Jeff Hafley, and I thought to myself, like, damn, I was kind of hoping we would go after someone with experience, but Herbie, that doesn't always work out, right? I mean, we've seen head coaches go to other franchises and it doesn't work out. We've actually been a victim of that, right? Dave Wanstead, when he was the head coach of the Dolphins, we were his second stint. Prior to that, if I'm not mistaken, he was the coach of the Bears. Bears are the Saints. I think it's one of those two teams, but I think it was the Bears. You look at Pete Carroll, Herbie. He went to the Raiders and completely stunk that joint up. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. Look at Bill Belichick, who obviously after before and after Tom Brady hasn't really impressed. Outside being a head coach as a coordinator, he was legendary, right? But my point being, Herbie, sometimes the guy with previous experience, the guy who's had the job before, might not be the answer. Some people want a Gruden, but he still has legal issues with the NFL he's still dealing with. So I decided, Herbie, number one, you can't get yourself too up or too down now because it's just the beginning. So I just decided to kind of dig into some of Jeff Hafley's character and kind of look into what he is. And number one thing, Herbie, one thing I like about the arrangement that the Dolphins have right now, even though I wasn't crazy about hiring a first-time head coach with a first-time GM, they have history, right? Jon-Eric Sullivan has an understanding of exactly who Jeff Hafley is, so much so that he was confident enough to make him his first hire as a GM for a head coaching job. I think that speaks volumes as to how he views his character. And if there was one thing that really, really screwed us when it came to the Tua era, Herbie, was the fact that Greer and Flores never got along. Flores didn't get along with a lot of people. But when your GM and your head coach don't get along, you are doomed for failure, no matter what, right? Because these are the two top captains of the ship. So we have two guys that presumably have a great relationship, guys who know each other. You know what I mean? I'm sure Sullivan has an idea of the kind of players that Hafley is going to want to draft. And then when I looked into Hafley, Herbie, there were some things I liked about him, Herbie. He first of all, thank God there's no more fucking guy going on the podium. No more of that, Herbie. We have a guy that is vibrant. He has charisma. He has attitude. He has energy. And when I looked into him, former players, people who've worked with him, guys like Richard Sherman, they talked about how he's a guy who knows how to simplify things. They talk about how he is a guy that pays attention to detail, someone who knows how to inspire others, a leader of men, Herbie. So look, he may not, and I looked into, he didn't do anything spectacular when he was head coach at BC. I got you. And in the NFL, the Packers defense, while this season they were decent, in 2024 they were fifth and sixth in terms of yards and points respectively, right? So at least he has shown that he could do some damage with his side of the ball. But I'm gonna listen, Herbie. It's just the beginning, right? It's the honeymoon phase. Whether you feel good or whether you feel bad, it doesn't really matter because we haven't seen anything of these guys yet. But I can only be optimistic. I'm not the type of person who wants to live in a world, Herbie, where what I mean. I'm gonna be all upset because you never know. The guy could end up being better than anybody thinks.
Oh, Rod. Unfortunately, I have to be the guy that has to be pessimistic. Okay, so I'm very happy that you took that stance because it gives me the opportunity to do the yin and yang, blah, 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 the first take thing, right? Like,
Right.
I really, all jokes aside, I do appreciate you took that stance. I didn't think you were taking it there. You feel me? But, I'm not trying to be Mr. Debbie Downer, but I do want to bring a little bit of the other side of the conversation. Speak to the pessimistic Dolphin fans because there's always going to be somebody who's inherently pessimistic by being a Dolphin fan. Like they go 1-1. It's a personality trait of being a fan of this team. So the only thing I will have to say when it comes to Jeff Hafley is he does ironically remind me, and this is somebody who they have a relationship with, of I want to say Steve Gannon. And the reason why I say he reminds me of Steve Gannon, who actually replaced him as the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, is if you remember that Eagles team and this was the first Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl that lost to the Chiefs. Everybody was like, all the Eagles guys, all the Eagles fans were like shocked that Steve Gannon got the head coaching job to go coach the Arizona Cardinals because they were like, yo, this dude sucks. He sucks on defense. Why did y'all hire him, right? And I don't think Steve Gannon is Jeff Hafley and vice versa. I think from, like you said, from everything that you've seen and all the stuff that you have heard when it comes to Jeff Hafley, he might have the opportunity to be a lot better than Steve Gannon, especially when it comes to being a leader of men, because that's one of the things that Steve Gannon obviously struggled with, if you want to really go back and look into that. But this is not something that is concerning, but it is a concern. There's a difference. It's not concerning, but it is a concern. The difference between the 2024 off defense from the Packers and the 2025 defense. Now, granted, that defense involved not having Micah Parsons for the duration, so it's not all the way fair, but it is a concern. Went from 5th to 12th as far as total defense. Went from 7th to 18th in rushing defense. Went from 13th to 11th in passing defense. Went from 6th to 11th in points against. Went from 4th in 31 to 26 with only 14 takeaways, and then went from 8th in the league in sacks with 45 to 21st in the league in sacks with 36. Now, again, Micah Parsons wasn't there for the duration. It's an incomplete. But normally when you see a guy get hired, he's on the upswing, not necessarily the downswing. And you said it, you said you don't really care about, or not to put words in your mouth, paraphrasing, but you said you're not too concerned with his career at Boston College. But he did go 22 and 26 at Boston College.
He did. He didn't do anything special with that.
He did absolutely nothing special.
Yeah.
And he was 4 games under 500 at Boston College. Now, it is Boston College. That was pre-NIL. That was pre-transfer portal. So you're not going to win a lot of games at Boston College anyway. But I would assume somebody that's going to be a good NFL head coach could be a better college football coach than that. And again, there's a bunch of variables we all know, right? But people who I know who are ACC fans were terribly unimpressed by Jeff Hafley when it came to Boston College. So, again, not concerning. It is not concerning. It is completely different. Some guys are way better as college coaches than they are as NFL head coaches and vice versa. We know that firsthand when it comes to that situation and that conversation. Hello, Nick Saban. Nick Saban is arguably the greatest college football. He ain't. He is the greatest college football coach of all time. An abject disaster at NFL. It happens. So I just wanted to go ahead and bring that up. But with that said, I'm ultimately on your side. I'm really on this side because the thing that plagued the Miami Dolphins is Stephen Ross came into the old school era. Like he was one of the owners that came into the old era of football, the more archaic way of football.
Right.
So it took a long time for him to do what was necessary to be done, which is get rid of people from the old era as well. This is a new NFL. You need new people. You need new minds. You need younger people who are thinking outside of the box versus these freaking dinosaurs that he had in the past. The
Mike Tannenbaums and the Jeff
Mike Tannenbaums.
Fucking God, Herbie. I have nightmares of these guys, bro. Like nightmares, man. Okay.
Like, we got Jeff Ireland. Like he retained Jeff Ireland. That's as much of a dinosaur as it gets. Like that is what's really been plaguing this team for quite some time is the fact that Stephen Ross took a very long time to really get up to speed with the new modern NFL. You need new thinkers. Even if you fail, you need new thinkers. This is a new athlete. This is a new type of media. This is a new type of coverage. You need people who are more adept at dealing with that versus these fucking dinosaurs that were a relic of a NFL that is no longer what we are a part of.
Yeah.
This is why it's a win. Like this is why getting this GM, somebody who truly values the draft, not somebody who's looking to bargain bin.
He's not looking to plug holes, Herbie.
He's not looking to plug holes, right? You have a head coach who is truly understanding how to relate to players, but hold them accountable. That has the right balance. Who was even if even if the record wasn't that great, he was a head coach. He has experience. And he was dealing with younger men than the men that he's going to be teaching now. So he knows how to relate to young people. Right. So there is a lot of positives. And I just want to go ahead and have this anecdote, right, in regards to your new GM. So I had this article. I want to say this is from PHIN OUTTA. And this is what it goes on to say. The Miami Dolphins introduced their new general manager and head coach on Thursday at the time. And when it came to some insight from general manager Jon-Eric Sullivan on what Stephen Ross said to him after he took the job. As far as ultimatums go, this wasn't one of them. As far as giving the highly touted GM a clear message about success, it doesn't get any clearer. Sullivan talked about what he wants to bring to the Dolphins, and he offered a comment from Ross regarding the expectations. According to Sullivan, Ross told him, and I quote, "If you can't do it, you can't say you won't have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
there is one redeeming quality about Ross as an owner, it is that he isn't worried about spending money to build a winning franchise. Over the course of his career and his ownership, he has spent up to and sometimes more than even he probably should for players. His desire to win is not in question. His approach has always been the problem. Chris Greer and Dennis Hickey were not good GMs. Jeff Ireland wasn't his hire, but he retained them. Ross put trust in people who have been with the Dolphins for a long time, often choosing the wrong people. Ross had to grow the fuck up.
Yep. Pretty much.
He
Pretty
had to
much.
adjust with the times. This is a sign of somebody who is able to adjust with the times. Better now than never. Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God.
Better
And let me tell you
now.
something. And let me tell you something, Herbie. When I was really digging into Jon-Eric Sullivan, it warmed my heart, Herbie, because I realized we finally got a guy who might have an eye for talent. I don't know. People spoke highly of him when it came to Green Bay. You never know how much.
You gotta have an eye for talent. Look at all the guys they hit on: Christian Watson, Matthew Golden,
Yeah,
all of these defensive players that they've drafted recently,
Quay Walker,
right?
fucking yeah.
Yeah, all of these guys. Like you're the guy who said I need to go get a good backup in Malik Willis, right? Like you're the guy that went and got the running back from Las Vegas. I can't remember his
You're
name
the
right
guy
now, but
who's supposedly scouted the quarterback of Green Bay right now,
so
right?
yeah, this is
So,
and again, you are from Green Bay. Green Bay is to a fault all about draft. Like to a fault. They don't give a damn about signing no free agents. It is build from within.
right.
So at the very least, you know 100% that you're getting a completely different philosophy. And this is the right. Now, I'm not going to say this is the perfect. Perfect means that you hit it. He is great at his job, yada yada. But this is the right type of GM for what you guys need. You guys can finally do what you need to goddamn do, which is rebuild. It's like,
Finally,
who cares about next year? We have a $99 million cap hit written quarterback right now. Who cares?
no
Be
matter what.
bad, be mediocre. This is about for the next 5 years to set up the next 15.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we can actually see. We can actually have patience. Chris Greer deserved no patience. Of course we got tired. Of course we were fed up. He didn't deserve patience. He was in the job for 20 years. And he had the
And
official title for
no,
15.
no patience. Jeff Ireland, Mike Tannenbaum, no patience.
No patience. They
Sure.
don't get patience. They don't deserve patience.
Man,
Jon-Eric Sullivan deserves patience because the approach is to build
right.
and build the infrastructure. Build from the seams, from the ground up, not patch holes like you say. So, all in all, man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Same.
Like we
I'm ready.
hopefully, hopefully, this Dolphin could get some of this good luck. I mean, you guys are due for good luck, bro. Like, god damn, bro.
Herbie, hey, Herbie, every dog has his day. Every dog has his day, Herbie.